Question, because the national park's called the Brisbane Ranges National Park up there. And I don't know, to be honest. I should Google it. Somebody Google it. You don't need me, you've got Google.
Named after Lord Brisbane.
That's a good question.
Anyway, hello everyone. But then once a year, I'm so we're on a bus tour. Yeah, we can't have it on forever due to copyright music. We'll have it on film if there's another sound.
The town was there. There was no road. And so the British government at the time, they got sick of there being so many shipwrecks, and they put out the order, find a place, put a lighthouse down there. And so the sailors had been going up and down the coast. They knew that Cape Otway was there. It was a big point of land, and they thought that was the perfect place for a lighthouse. But there was no road across the mountains. And so they had to find a way across the mountains and through the forest to make a road so they could bring the materials in to build the lighthouse. So the first person to have an expedition to try and find a way across the mountains, his name was Latrobe, and he ended up being the first governor, actually, when Victoria became a state in 1851. But before he was governor, he made an attempt to go across the Cape to look for a way in to build a lighthouse, but he failed. And then he tried again, and he failed again. And so he hired a man named Smythe, and Smythe was the head surveyor. And surveyors were in charge at that time of, finding new places for villages and farms, finding places to make roads, etc. And so that's what Smythe was doing. And he was given the job of finding a way across the Otways to the lighthouse. Now, in 1847, they still haven't found the lighthouse place, but he was camping in a valley. And he had some native trackers with him, some people from the Wadawurrung tribe, which is outside of the Otways. And they were the enemies of the Gadibanad in here. So they weren't very helpful as guides, because they didn't know the land, and B, they were in their enemy's territory. And Smythe and his men, they ended up camping in a valley, and on the other side of the valley was a Gadibanad camp. And in the middle of the night, one of the Englishmen snuck across to the Gadibanad camp, and he assaulted one of the women. Remember, this is 1847, right? He assaulted one of the women, and I'm not going to go into detail, but it wasn't good what he did. It was very bad. And the Gadibanad men, they came over to the English camp, and they killed the Englishman that did it. They speared him. These guys would be looking at koalas, one would think, in an extremely dangerous way. But what do you do? So yeah, they killed the Englishman that assaulted the Gadibanad woman. So Smythe and his men were terrified, and they ran back to Melbourne. But they came back down again to the same valley, and this time Smythe had more men and more guns, and he found the Gadabanut again, and it was in this valley here on our left. Look at that. It's called the Aire River Valley. So yeah, Smythe had been down here in 1847. His man was killed for assaulting one of the women. The Gadabanut killed him. He came back down for revenge, and he found the Gadabanut again. This time it was really different. He found them, they were all asleep. And as soon as he and his men saw the Gadabanut, they started shooting. And it turned into a massacre. And it's now known as the Moonlit Head Massacre. And it was a terrible day. And there were lots of these massacres down in the western part of Victoria in the 1850s, 60s, 70s and beyond. And it was a terrible time. But to make this massacre even worse, then they were all asleep when they were shot. But to make it even worse, they were all, pretty much all, women and children. I know, right? And to make it even worse, that morning in this valley, Smythe and his men killed all of the women and children from the entire nation. It wasn't that many, it wasn't like thousands of people or anything, but it was still, basically that morning, killed all the women and children from a whole culture, a whole nation. That tribe became extinct, and the Gadabanut are no more in this valley. It's just a sad face time, it really is, and I'm sorry to bring the mood down, but this happened a lot in Victoria. The Indigenous people of Victoria, they refer to Victoria as being the killing fields. British records show that there were 6,000 Indigenous people murdered in massacres in the 1850s in Victoria, in Western Victoria. So if the British records show that many, I wonder how many really were killed. More than that, I would suspect. So a terrible time. And we've come a long way since then, we really have. But we've got a long way to go. You know, so it's a complex issue. But yeah, the Gadabanut are gone. The King Parents are still here, but the Gadabanut are gone. It wasn't until 1967, by the way, that the Australian Constitution was changed to recognise Indigenous people as humans. Before that it was like they were just kind of feral animal type rating. Absolutely terrible. But again, it's an olden times, and we've come a long way since then. Yeah, so anyway, enough of that. Look at this beautiful valley. It's called the Aire River Valley, named after a place in Yorkshire, apparently. It's a beautiful river that runs through it. And all these pine trees up here, right, they're not native to Australia, of course. They are a farm. It's a tree farm, a tree plantation. So tree farms on the Otways is big business. They chopped most of the old forest down, but they replaced it with tree farming. So it's a real shame the old forest is gone. Here's the river. So yeah, it's big business on the Otways. That bit of rainforest that you walked around before, that was one of the only places on the whole Otway Ranges that has pure rainforest left, untouched. Such a shame. So this is still Great Ocean Road, okay? Well, it feels like we've left the ocean, but the ocean is actually over that big hill over there. Straight over that hill, boom, the ocean's right there. So it's absolutely amazing. And we've come past Tasmania. So what you'll see next when you see the ocean isn't Bass Strait, and it isn't the Pacific anymore, it'll be the Southern Ocean. So it'll be a new ocean for you if you haven't seen it before. You can tick it off your ocean list, if you've got an ocean list. So onwards we go, and pretty soon we're going to start climbing back up again. Just move on up. Move on up. As we come up here, have a look out. See this figure of rock going out like that?
Oh yeah.
Amazing. So that whole middle section might fall one day, and then we'll be left with another one. And then we'll have 8. Maybe one day we will have 12. Nah, who knows?
Okay, so this is the 12 apostles. Can't really see the other ones. They're very far away. Oh, come on.
You're gonna have to take a picture of a bunch of people's heads when you go down there. You can only look out if there is.
Hey guys. So we would keep working on this, but the videos will have to be uploaded in parts due to the low storage.
It's running out of power?
No, it's running out of storage.
Okay.
Anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this, and if you have, be sure to leave a like. And if you are new, be sure to subscribe. Thank you for watching. See you all next time. There are snakes.
Yeah, there's snakes around here, so he what?
You better stay on the phone.
Oh.